£15,000, for instance, into the vehicle and they got behind in payments, the bank would have to pay you £15,000 before they take it. Now, the UCC in Article 3, subsections 505 lists the rights of a party presented with a demand for payment, no matter who the alleged claimant, for instance, the IRS or the Canadian Revenue Agencies or the Emergencies Revenue and Customs, or what the claim, for instance, property tax or council tax, income tax. No one can ever show a liability on your part, only a demand for money. This is how I have so much fun with the alleged creditors. They continue to send me statements. I continue to demand an invoice signed under their full commercial liability, and I'll be happy to settle the accountant. But they never do. To do so will be committing fraud. How can I pay a bill if they don't send me one? We're going to talk about the powers that be, the PTB, the global elite. The top 1% of the world has the same combined income as the bottom 57%, and the disparity is growing. At the top of the decision-making pyramid, we have the ruling elite. They utilize psychopolitics deliberately to influence all 9 steps in the decision-making process. They control every step by, number 1, creating events and predetermining their outcome. Number 2, manufacturing event details and controlling the information dissemination infrastructure. Number 3, biasing the alarm faculties of common people by the selected dissemination of controlled information. Number 4, molding knowledge and belief systems through education. Number 5, intentionally providing the children of common people with inferior education through public instructions while ruling elite children attend premier schools and colleges. Number 6, controlling the emotions of common people through social rhetoric and religious dogma. Number 7, enacting rules and regulations that influence common people's decisions based upon expected rewards and feared punishments. Number 8, intimidating the decisions of ordinary people by enforcing codes, rules, and regulations with coercion, the threat of force, torture, fines, or imprisonment. And number 9, erecting surveillance networks which have the ability to monitor the behaviors and actions of groups and individuals. Moving briefly to the subject of investments, we will see neither our retirement investments nor our pensions. Do not get plugged in. This is good news. It means the economic structure under which we have been living is about to collapse. As you've seen the coronavirus pandemic, and about a bloody time now we're seeing these crises. Yes, there will be some casualties, as there has been many cases of recorded deaths, well over 25,000 deaths in the United Kingdom on this pandemic. We're seeing many casualties right now all around the world. We're seeing many casualties in the United States, in Spain, in Italy, in France, in Germany. But for the most part, it will wake us up to know that there is no security outside ourselves. The investment game is one which is run by the elite to get our funds. We can't possibly win. It is like going to Las Vegas. If you're going for any reason other than entertainment, you're putting your faith into something that doesn't exist. I'm willing to concede that many have made the proverbial killing in the market, yet they fail to see that what they have gained is a liability. Even more important is they haven't yet met the living soul who lost in order for them to win. 60% of the stock market is the investments of the CAFR, which is the Comprehensive Annual Financing Report accounts of cities. This is where your funds from traffic tickets, property taxes, etc. go to fund the gambling of the city officials. They are investing with our funds and winning. Then they hide in a CAFR account all these funds and then cry that they don't have enough money to pay for emergency services, firemen, police, paramedics, etc. Turning next and briefly to the subject of civil liberties. And this is a profound statement by Dr. Henry Kissinger in the Bilderberger Conference, Avias in France, 1991. Today, America will be outraged if the United Nations troops entered Los Angeles to restore order, referring to the 1991 LA riot. Tomorrow, they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told that they were an outside threat from beyond, for instance, an extraterrestrial invasion, whether real or promulgated, that threaten our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the world government. Again, this is by Dr. Henry Kissinger at the Bilderberger Conference, Avias in France, 1991. Now we're going to turn to the subject of government. Now Thomas Jefferson said, when the government fears the people, there is liberty. And when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. Every effort has been made by the Federal Reserve Board to conceal its powers. But the truth is, the Fed, the Federal Reserve System, has usurped the government. It controls everything there. Controls Congress, and it controls all our foreign relations. It makes and breaks governments at will. Louis McFadden, ex-chairman of the House Committee on Banking and Currency. Again, Thomas Jefferson says, the course of history shows as a government grows, liberty decreases. And FDR states, in politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, it was planned that way. Thomas Jefferson again said, government big enough to supply everything you need is big enough to take away everything you have. And when the government allows you to have a furlough leave during the coronavirus pandemic and has released over £30 billion sterling towards the crisis, it goes to say, in the words of Thomas Jefferson, or indeed where he says government big enough to supply everything you need is big enough to take everything away from you. Government is at its best a petulant servant and at worst a tyrannical master. And this is by George Washington. Unfortunately, many people think the American government are the terrorists. There is no American government and hasn't been in scores of years. To what they refer is the USG, the United States government, the belligerent foreign corporation masquerading as the American government. It has named itself the government of the United States of America for the sole purpose of conning the American people into believing that it represents them and that it is its government. The USG is a private, fictitious, for-profit corporation, has more to do with the American people or the American territory than does Sears, another private, fictitious, for-profit corporation. Americans, which includes those of ones in Canada, for instance, have long been subjected to the terrorism of the corporations USG and government of Canada. No one alive today has experienced a representative government, which brings us to another point. Why would anyone vote in a foreign election for a foreign corporation? There is no one for whom to vote who could possibly represent us. Our country has been under siege for so long, I wonder if we ever get it back. Now let's talk very briefly about Canada, the government of Canada. The Constitution and Charter of Rights and Freedoms does not apply to Canadians. Remember the 4 elements of valid legal contracts? Number 1, full disclosure. Number 2, equal consideration. Number 3, lawful terms and conditions. Number 4, signatures of all parties. Is your signature on it? No. You are not.